Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. It's a beautiful Thursday morning and it promises to be a very wonderful day. We're starting the show beginning with newspaper headlines before we take a look at issues that we'll be discussing majorly on the show today. I am Adidolapo Fatila Ajayi, and with me in the studio to analyze the headlines is public affairs commentator Cyril Abaku. Good morning, Cyril.
Very good morning to you.
You're welcome on the show this morning. Okay, let's start straight away going into the Punch newspaper. The major headline on Punch this morning says, Labour suspends strike, OPS stakeholders tackle NLC, TUC, and the rider is saying a strike over Ajaero assault, abuse of power, says LCCI, maritime sector loses 20 billion naira. Labour threatens to resume strike, insists on demands, says suspension temporary. Wow, they are suspending the strike but threatening to go on strike again.
To resume.
So
clearly, like I said, I observed yesterday's headline report said FG knocks Labour. Now today it is
Labour suspend strike.
But then the main story is stakeholders tackle Labour. So clearly, the Punch has enough stories of how people are tackling the NLC, but has very little to offer on how a government and its machinery is unable to unravel such battery on the labor on the leader of the nation's apex labor union. Let it be very clear. When we said yesterday that, in spite of what had happened to Ajaero, the federal government had been eerily quiet, it took the NSA to speak about it, which means clearly that the federal government understands the import and the weight of the matter.
Of course.
So if the president had to speak, it just goes to tell you what exactly it is I said yesterday, which is the fact that they understand the weight of the matter in question. It is not done. It's not done. The leader of the Labour was beaten up. Okay, things happen quite all right. But what have we done between that time and what did the federal government do to prevent? They didn't do nothing to prevent the strike from taking place yesterday because they didn't think it was going to bite as hard as it did. I too didn't even see it coming. When they announced that the thing was going to hold them in a bad place, that was when they invited Labour to come for comment. Why didn't you invite them before the strike?
Before this.
Then that is on the one hand. On the other hand, I personally am weary of this too easy and let's say cheap use of strikes as way of resolving matters. The labor unions now appear to blackmailing government all the time. The issue. So what did they now discuss yesterday?
That made them just suspend the strike suddenly.
You know what I think? The way this happens is the labor unions don't appear to be standing for or fighting for Nigerians. Because if you were, it is us that you primarily owe accountability to.
Not the government.
Not government. Now today, you embark on a strike. One day meeting.
You are calling it off.
One day meeting. We don't know what to discuss there. We don't know what to agree there. The next thing.
And it is getting to a time when people no longer take this thing for anything. It doesn't.
That's why government believe that there will be a time very soon when they call for strike and nobody
will just.
So at that point, you say that they will even arrest the labor leaders. Did you see what happened? When they said we're going to go on strike, the government was secured a court order to say don't go on strike. But even court workers themselves
went on this strike that.
What the federal government now do, they now call them to have a discussion. So it now means that when the court speak, the federal, if you have the power to disobey, because the federal will call you and beg you and say let's settle. Which means a lot of the land don't hold any power anymore.
I think a lot has to be done with this.
Sincerely speaking, was there a court order saying NSA shouldn't go on strike? If there really was, how then is it that we are a country where federal government goes a court rules, and if you have the power to override the courts, just ignore whatever it is the courts have said,
and nothing happens.
And then no, they will call you and beg you. They will call you and say, please, shouldn't we all look and look for that kind of power? So that is it not better to have that kind of power where the law can no longer hold you? So that whether you are right or wrong, the only thing that happens is that they call you and say, please, let's reach a settlement. I think that should be the real power that we should be going after. To pack all these groups, LCCI, OPS, and so on, are all tackling labor is meaningless. It's meaningless. We are a country that is losing values. How many people have been speaking and saying federal government should not have allowed the matter of the beating up of Ajaero to have dragged this much? How many people have said that? And even people said it. How many times do you see it on front pages? People are just voting out and saying labor shouldn't have. I'm not a fan of labor. Because the number of strikes that they've been backed upon since Tinubu became president, I'm
lost count.
I'm almost losing count. But why is this also a government that until you go on strike, they not listen to you? The other time, when they went on strike, they said strike and protest. They went to national assembly, they pushed down the gate, the outer gate. Akpabio ran out and said, oh please, they sent the president. He said, please don't worry. In 7 days, in 7 days, you provide answers to your problems. 7 days I've turned into more than 7 weeks. Nothing has happened. Now, resident doctors the other time said they had not been paid MRTF, they had not been paid this and that. Federal government was not doing anything. As soon as they went on strike, the following day the money was paid. So it means that
must we wait until there is a strike before the government?
I'm telling you, we need to look for that power. That makes government, I'm telling you, to
act on whatever it is.
You have a bad road, you don't have electricity, you don't have
Let's
water.
go on strike.
There's no need to just look for that power. That when you have it, you can. And government, I can tell you that government can do what government can do in 6 months can be done in an hour. I can tell you. I mean, so for example, in the states, what are governors doing with the security votes? Some states get as much as 1 billion naira per month, 300 million naira per month, 600 million naira per month, 700 million naira per month, money that they will not give account for. Every month is coming into a governor's pocket. What can they do with that money? To
make their states better off.
So when you say they're living lavish lifestyles, employing 300 aides, 2,000 advisors,
buying unnecessary things.
There was even one that employed somebody as a timekeeper. Advisor to the government on timekeeping. Our president has an advisor on teleprompter. Dolakbo. Our president has a special advisor whose work is a special advisor on teleprompter. So these are the issues. We cannot be a country that continues to condone what is wrong and
expect that things will even
right, and then
change.
Expect that somewhere along the way and
things will be better.
It will not. You must. I've said before that I know that something called luck exists, but I don't believe in it. I won't vote my hand and say it will come by luck. I mean, who does that?
You have to do the things.
You must wake up and take action. Dubai is an example. Singapore is an example. Japan is an example. Germany is an example. All right? All that countries that came from nothing, from war, from totally nothing, even China, to build the Chinese woke up and said one day that they are going to raise a number of billionaires over a certain period of time, and they raised them. It is in Nigeria that somebody will sit in this and believe that by 6 p.m. tomorrow,
something miraculous would happen. Let's continue with the stories on the Punch, the front page of the Punch newspaper. Lagos, Kogi, Rivers lead as inflation hits 27.33%. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. 177 deported Nigerians violated Saudi Arabia's visa rules. That's what the embassy is saying. Can we believe that?
Well, because what the federal government said earlier, it was that these people were sent back for previous offenses. And I'm just wondering, now the embassy... They
violated the Saudi Arabia visa rules.
So what federal government said earlier was that these people had broken, that this thing was done because of old offenses.
Okay.
All right, old offenses. That's as they call it. Now, we are now hearing another story that they broke rules. But the fact is that the reality is that before ever people board an aeroplane flying to any destination, there are checks.
Before taking over at
There
all.
are checks. There are checks. Now, federal government is saying one thing. The Saudis are saying
Another
another
thing.
thing. Which means that the federal government was even trying to save its own face. And not to put its best foot forward.
The way it is.
Yes, and not to satisfy. What it was doing was that it was acting to cover its own face. Now they've opened the rump. And so what are we now? So which one should we believe? Whenever the federal government and any other institution or government is speaking, you know who to believe, right?
Shouldn't you believe our own government?
Yeah, we as patriotic citizens, we ought to believe our government. But I can tell you that from experience,
That there is more to this.
you had better know whom to believe. But now look at the shame. Look at the opprobrium. Look at the sheer magnitude of the global embarrassment that this has caused Nigeria.
So weren't these people checked properly?
No, those checks were done. In fact, counterpart checking, we checked and they confirmed before the flight took place.
What's going on?
I am telling you, from what I explained yesterday, about the fact that Nigeria has lost face in the Committee of Nations. This is the problem. They could not even, the Saudis couldn't even afford us the dignity of sounding similar like what the federal government said, just to save face. They did not. They just went off and said their own thing. So this is the problem. We must be a country that knows where she is in the, and so isn't this even enough room for us to stamp our feet and do what is right? But we won't, because we are the beggars in every context. We are the ones who go from country to country to beg for support and beg for assistance. They even listen. The Saudis are oil producers. We are competitors. You expect them to come and invest in our petroleum, in our refineries to export the oil where? To their own country or to their own clients. It's not even going to happen. All this are just is for the headlines. As far as I'm concerned, it's for the headlines. Like I said yesterday, and I'm saying it again today, we must arise, we must awaken, we must wake up to our responsibility to realize that to build this country cannot be done by the Ghanaians, the Saudis, Americans, or the Japanese. It is Nigeria that must build Nigeria. Until we rise up to that reality, we will continue to float on the high sea of international politics and gimmicks and think that we are going
kicking us here and there.
We are not getting anywhere in reality.
On page 7 of the Punch newspaper, we have the federal government reduces charges against Emefiele strike stalls arraignment. And then I move to the Guardian newspaper, where the major headline there is saying currency depreciation, high energy cost worsen inflation outlook. That's on page 6 of the Guardian. And then tackling crashes by trucks, articulated vehicles in Lagos, Ogun. Saudi cites wrong visas, faulty applications for deportation. NLC TUC suspend strike, ask federal government to reciprocate gesture. And then NNPCL flags currency crisis as barrier to investment. Okay, I move. Do you have anything to say?
Of course I do.
Okay.
The Guardian is now even more upfront with saying that Saudis are citing inappropriate. Look, if I dare the federal government, I dare the federal government, if truly the Saudis are lying against us, using these things as a cover for their geopolitical action against our own aviation industry, the federal government must retaliate. You must retaliate. You have nothing to lose, but your face to save. You have nothing to lose, but Nigeria has nothing to lose, but our face to save. We must reciprocate the gesture. Enough of this nonsense. Everybody takes us for granted. Everybody takes us for a ride. They
Faulty
just
application.
Look at something that was not spotted, that could not be stopped.
They now landed.
They landed.
Now send them back.
Was it meant to embarrass us or what? No, I'm saying it again. If of a truth, it can be proven that the Saudis are lying again, then the federal government must reciprocate the gesture without wasting time.
We can't just allow this to go away.
Look, tomorrow,
pretend as if it didn't happen.
I told you this thing. The Ghanaians went and kicked down our High Commission. We have nothing to offer. The South Africans woke up and said, enough of Nigerians in the country. They said all kinds of things.
Nothing happens.
Let me tell you. So what they call xenophobia in South Africa was actually the action sponsored by the South African government itself. It was not about street people. It was a government measure. And we didn't know better and couldn't do anything about it. So now it's the Saudis. Tomorrow it could be another country. We must wake up to the responsibility of rebuilding confidence in our nation. This is why when Nigerians live in Nigeria, they go to places like St. Ives and St. Kitts and Ives. They go to Japan. They go to Indonesia. They go to countries like Azerbaijan. And they are taking citizenship in those places. Vietnam of all places. And are taking citizenship in those countries. They go to the UK. The question is, what is left in what's Nigeria? What's the value? That's
what more value do we have as a country?
Canada, the first ever Olympic medal they won was won for them by a Nigerian. A Nigerian athlete who got fed up in Nigeria and traveled. And the next moment, he won their first
exploits in other countries.
The Nigerian lady, running for Jordan, she has been winning medals for Jordan. Francis Obikwe left Nigeria to run for Portugal. He began to win medals for Portugal. It's as if once you leave this country, you are delivered.
Begin to make it.
But
and that's why so many people are running away already.
The last Olympic Games that we went for, every country came in their own special attire. Nigeria, we could have picked Ajaero. We could have picked Ashoki. We could have picked the people in Benue where the people that wear white and black. No, Ankara, the Ankara must be something I want you to see.
And they are Nigerian made Ankara.
So we didn't do that. Some people wear Arsenal jersey. Some wore. It was a combination. When the Yoruba say rudu, they just got together like that.
Nigeria must be delivered. Oh,
it's not a joke. So this is the problem. What can we do to get things right in this country? But like I said earlier, I dare the federal government. If the Saudis are lying, let us reciprocate the gesture. Look, I don't care. Even if it got to the point of someone in the Saudi ambassador to Aso Rock and giving him a thorough dress and asking him to leave the country, tell him to leave the country immediately. Then tell the embassy in Riyadh, shut down and come back to Nigeria. Because sincerely speaking.
We move on with the Nation newspaper. Reforms come with pains but inevitable, says federal government. There will be transparency in budgeting, expenditure, and then the president is saying job creation a priority. What to Shuaibu, run for governor? That's on page 27 of the Nation newspaper. Government's efforts okay to halt soaring inflation, and then certain moves to create federal data bank. Former Finance Minister Onolapo Shuleye dies at 90. That is on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. And then I take one more on that paper. Says Labour calls off strike after talks with NSA ministers. You can get all of these stories on the front pages of the Nation's newspaper. And then I think that'll be all on. Or do you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to speak to, now this is the Nation newspaper reporting the issue with the strike.
Yes.
Was the
Labour calls off strike after talks with.
Was the strike suspended or called off? So is it that the editors had a slip of the pen?
Or was there even a strike?
In the first
was there a strike actually?
Yeah, no, but of course there was an industrial.
Because
no, there was.
Not everybody joined.
Yes, but the strike began to bite it. Otherwise, the government wouldn't have called them to come and have a meeting with them.
Okay.
In some states, the strike really actually
held.
Yes.
Okay.
It held and it was effective, and they saw that it was going to metamorphose into something more widespread. And of course, no government wants a strike to happen at a time when the economy is beneath sea level, is in the water.
It's biting hard.
Yes, fuel supply, zero. Naira, zero. Inflation, very high. Food prices, soaring.
Electricity.
Nowhere to find. So if you now allow them to go on strike, it means that in a matter of 3 or 4 days, you may see Nigerians may even take to the streets and begin to protest. So for fear of that,
they would quickly come in and do something.
Came in to say, please, let's have Georgia. Now my question is, NLC has a pattern of always going to government, then taking assurances and suspending industrial action. I don't understand what that means. What stops government from doing what it ought to do substantively? But my concern really is that the nation is by saying call off. I think it was suspended. It wasn't called off.
Because they're still threatening to...
So let's not misreport the... Like I said,
go back.
Is this a slip of the pen or what? Or is it how they choose to report the news? But for what it is worth, let's watch and hope that
things get better.
That government will wake up to its responsibilities and will put its best foot forward in making things really better. The signs are ominous. They don't show that things are going to that somebody is critically thinking and hoping to make things work. Intentions are not enough. You must have good intentions are good, but you must have, you must be equipped.
The NLC TUC's suspension of the strike action. Thanks for staying with us. We'll be right back.
Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.